Peace and blessings, family, and happy new year. It's another year, family, another year. Happy new year. Welcome to Sunday Sitting with Sisters. I am your host, Sister Ro. And I don't know about y'all, but I hope you had a great new year. I know I did. To me, I'm not going to lie, 2020 was not as bad as most people probably feel. For me at least. I don't know how it was for you all. But I am very grateful to be in 2021. But I was also grateful for 2020 because for me, a lot of things shifted last year for me, and it was not necessarily a bad thing. It was a good thing. I felt like, I don't know how y'all feel, but I felt like I've grown, and I definitely feel older, but in a very beautiful way. And I feel like we're going to talk about that a little bit this morning. I am still lining up guests. The first of the year is usually really hard for people as they start to roll out their routine. And I can bear witness to that because I've definitely been rolled out my routine and been doing a lot of awesome work. I also got introduced to an app called Clubhouse. Thanks to my dear sister Christy. And I've learned so much stuff from this app called Clubhouse. And one of the things that I learned about it is all of these conversations that Black people are having across not just the United States, but in England. And, you know, people are on there from other parts of the world, African people from across the diaspora. Great conversations I've been able to sit in. Sometimes I've chimed in, but for the most part, I listen because these are more like kids in their, like maybe 20, well, young people, like in their 20s or 30s. And, you know, there's older people in there. But it's nice to hear them talk about, good morning. It's nice to hear the topics of conversation. Some of them were about Happy New Year, Plachette. Some of those conversations were about Africans and diaspora Africans, but African Americans are Black and the diaspora Africans. And there's a lot of celebrating and a lot of discourse, which is beautiful because that's how life is. We should be talking with them about how we feel. There's also been a lot of talk about African Americans seeing themselves as their own tribe. I'm very excited about that because I do think that African Americans really are their own tribe. It don't mean we better than nobody else. And, you know, I feel like sometimes when we have identity issues, people tend to think they can slide in and tell Black people who they are. Like, you don't get to do that. You know, when I travel to other countries and I meet Black folks, I don't step into your house and be like, oh, this is Ethiopia. This is who you guys are. Like, I don't do that. Like, I listen and ask questions, and I kind of learn about where I am so I can be respectful of culture and tradition and to also learn. And I think that is the same thing that should be afforded to African Americans. Like when you come somewhere, and I know you may get instructions, and people love to blame shit on instructions, in terms of, oh, the white man say you could, hey, peace, sis, how you doing over there in Chicago? You get ready to leave out of Chicago, right? I know sometimes we get a lot of like, oh, you know, the white man and system said we shouldn't do this. I have never met a young person who parents gave them explicit instructions on doing something and they did what they wanted to do. And I think sometimes we leave out free will that you really don't have to believe. People tell me all the time things about other people. I kind of go and find out for myself. So it's been very empowering hearing Black folks in America and the diaspora. I'm loving to hearing the Black Brits because I've met a few of them on my travels. And so it's just been really nice to hear what they have to say and them chiming in on you know, what they think, you know what I mean? And hearing that voice, and I think is a long overdue conversation that we should be having with each other about how we feel about each other. I think that is such a long overdue conversation, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm excited for it. I don't know about y'all. I am so excited. Right on, Plachette, right on. And the beauty of that conversation about, because what happened was in one of the rooms, you know, people get in and they start talking, you know, one person, I think there was an all sincerity. They were saying, well, you know, because I think they were like from Ghana or Nigeria or somewhere. They was like, we come and we want to help you all. And you're separating yourselves. And I think sometimes we have a bad idea of what that separation part be. Meanwhile, other groups come here and they get to make their way being separate, off of the backs of the people who laid all that groundwork. You understand? Which is the African Americans or the Black folks who were enslaved here, or the ADOS. To be very honest with you, it doesn't take anything away from people who are coming now. But I'm old school. I was taught that when you walked in somebody's house, you immediately speak to the oldest person. That's how I was raised. So if I walked in somebody's house and their grandma was sitting there, I immediately greet her and then I start talking to everybody else. That's because I come from culture and tradition that I can recognize. And I think some of us, may not have come from that, but it's never too late to start, creating those traditions. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay, sis. Somebody's telling me to check my phone. Okay. Sis, so listen, tell her that I'm checking my phone, sis. I'm just saying I'm off at that time, sis, because I have another show right behind that. But she could do next week, and I'll be good with that. Straight up. Let me know. I love my sister. So that's all I'm saying. I feel like that's a big part of it. So in these discussions around what we think is a divide, it could be a divide, but I also think that's how you get to know people. Like even in my own family, I'm a middle daughter, like in terms of sisters. I have two sisters and I'm in the middle. We disagree sometimes, but hell, I mean, that's how we get to move forward in our positions and what we want to do and how we learn to respect each other. You have to have some discourse right there so we can know. Sometimes it's not as easy as saying, oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, that's great. Sometimes you make an assumption that you think this is what we all want, and somebody be like, I kind of don't want to do that. So then you have to start figuring out other ways in which it can be done. So Clubhouse is a great platform. I'm also watching Black folks organize on there. So they do have rooms about business, about branding, about making money, about I love it. I was in one and people were introducing themselves and they were talking about the skill sets that they bring. I thought that was great. So they're talking about building. Like I absolutely love this app. I just pop in and out and sometimes I talk. They had on there a title one time that Candace Owens was trash. It was like a title, but when you get in there, we basically dialogue from a place of not so much that people may disagree with her stance or that she belongs to a different political party, but it's kind of like we have to start looking at why people make the choices they make. And it's not this thing of, because we do a lot of assumption when it comes to Black women. We assume that all Black women are thinking and doing the same thing. But it's kind of like when I see someone acting out of, and I learned this in my work, if I meet a young person and they are like off the chain, I don't say, why are you off the chain? Or why are you acting like that? You shouldn't do that or whatever. I have to now start to think about how she got to that position and how I'm going to assist. Because maybe she don't have enough tools in her box. Maybe she hasn't been heard. Because sometimes we do not hear. When we see certain types of Black people, we immediately write them off and put them over here in the box. So I'm loving this. I'm loving this whole platform. So there's a lot of great discussions on there. I believe you have to be invited to be on Clubhouse. And I'm so grateful for Christy who invited me. I'm enjoying it. It's been giving me life. Just hearing. So for me, I'm a type of person, I love my people so much. I like to just hear us talk because it uplifts me at the same time. So I love this whole thing in Clubhouse. They also have people on there gathering who believe in the same traditions. I mean, it's just awesome. Like I've been in some rooms where it was just people from Somalia or people from, the Liberian lounge or, it was just, I love that people are using the tool to organize. And I really believe all of this social media stuff, we should be using it to our betterment, not just for entertainment, not just, because see, this is what I do know. I got invited to, Plachette, you're going to love it because you're going to find your tribe on there. There are so many awesome young people. There's so many awesome, brilliant young folks that are out there doing it. And I know for me, it helps me to understand that, we really are going to be okay, to be honest with you. Because there are people on there from other parts of the world on there chiming in to our experience. And it's the best way one of the best ways we can organize for ourselves. And so I'm enjoying it. I'm talking with Chrissy. I'm like, girl, we're going to have to get on there and put some kind of topic up on there. I don't know what we're going to do. But there's so many things, y'all. So many things. And I think the way Black people, there's many roads to liberation. There's a lot of roads to it. There is no one road. So when people start talking about this the only way, I kind of tune them out because sometimes that's just ignorance talking. But I just know that one of the ways we have to get there is that we have to talk. We have to honor each other's story. You don't have to agree with the story. You ain't got to like the story. You don't even have to validate that the story happened. But you do have to at least hear the person out. And then you can make up your mind to what you want to do. And I find sometimes as Black people, not all of us, and I said some, because I believe in words like some and a few. I don't put everybody in the same thing. I feel like sometimes we struggle with that. We struggle with the importance of people's story. We really, really struggle with that. And so and being on Clubhouse, and again, I'm just so grateful to Christy Ketchum because she was like, Ro, that you would really like this platform. That it just makes a lot of sense. It just makes a lot of sense. And you get to connect with people. I like to listen to Black folks' conversations. So sometimes I'll just be cleaning my kitchen or be working on some stuff. I'm working on 2 books right now. So I'm trying to, as sometimes sitting with my thought, I may pop that on, and then that way to get me motivated again, because you can find all kind of topics. So if you haven't, pray that somebody invites you. It will change your life. And what I've done a lot with that app is a lot of listening. And we need each other, family. We really need each other as a people. We need each other. And I am very, very grateful on like a whole other level of gratitude for being a part of that conversation. Next week here, we're going to have a sister on here, Gigi Brown, and she's going to talk about natural remedies and home remedies. And I feel like we need to go back to the base that is us. And so I feel like education is great and it's wonderful, but if you don't have a base, then it doesn't really mean anything. You have to have a base. And when I go back and do my studies and I research, and I'm always in this place with my ancestors, to be very honest with you, I'm always in this place of when I look at things from the past and I see all of the things that they've done, because we'll talk about things that didn't happen because for some reason, for some of us, we love to connect to the part that didn't happen, but we forget about all the things that did happen that led up to that point. And what I mean by that is, all throughout history, Black folks have always built things to sustain themselves. They never, Gigi Brown will talk about our teas and everything. We never, looked at how they were able to build, not just Black Wall Street. There were Black townships all over the United States after slavery, after Reconstruction. Black folks have always been trying to sustain themselves and build their own. And just because we've had these tremendous systems and forces that basically set out to destroy us doesn't mean that we don't keep trying. Because what makes you keep trying is that those descendants, and when you look at your children and your grandchildren and the great-great-grandchildren you're never going to see, they're going to look back at your contribution to what pushed them forward. So just because they burnt down Black Wall Street, or they destroyed Black towns, or they lynched our people, which all of that was horrendous, it does not mean that you stop trying. It means that you try harder. And so to be able to stand here in 2021 and to be on an app like Clubhouse and listening to all of the chatter that keeps you moving and to help you decide, I want to keep building, I'm going to keep building. That's what it's all about, family, in a nutshell. And so if you have made it here under the sound of my voice and we're in 2021, give thanks. Give thanks. And as you go backwards, that's why Sankofa is so important, that you must look backwards. And I'm not into generic histories. I'm not. Those conversations I tune out of because it's really kind of disrespectful, honestly. Like, I know that I'm a descendant of people who came here as enslaved people to the Americas. My people weren't here already. Some people's was here, but mine wasn't, and I know my history. Feel like when we share that history, we have to be very respectful and loving of each other. You know what I mean? When I meet someone and say, if they say, "Oh, I'm an Afro-Latina," I don't get upset. I just be like, "That's great." You know, I may want to know more about their culture or tradition. I don't immediately just wipe them out and be like, "Well, yeah. Well, it's kind of like, look, that's great. Tell me about." That's what I love about the clubhouse. There's all kind of. I've met more Africans on there, like from the continent, that are here, who are asking, how do we connect? They have talked about some of the anti-Black sentiments that they people do, you know, and how they have to correct their own people. That's courageous. That takes a lot of courage. You know, even in the African American world, we have to do the same thing. We have to have courage to tell people we don't talk like that. You cannot just say things like that about people in my presence and I don't say nothing. After I finish this show today, we're going to come back on with Black Femicide. Last year, we were definitely over 1,000 Black women and girls who have been murdered at the hands of Black men. And yet we don't talk about that. We do not talk about that. So how do we then, this morning before I got on here, I was on Clubhouse and they talked about when should Black women call the police, or, you know, when, or, you know, and I listened to part of the conversation, and part of it was like, you know, we don't want the Black man to get killed. And my thing is, but we have over 1,000 Black women that's been murdered in the U.S. last year at the hands of Black men. What if all of them had called the police? Would some of them still be here? So I feel like at some point we have to, in this 2021, we got to figure out different ways of having conversations and to speak our truths and to change some of our thought processes. You know, you can't protect people who don't protect you. You know, your safety is your safety. You don't have to think about your safety. Don't come at the hands of looking at other people's safety. No, it comes at the hands of your own safety. And so these are the conversations that we're having around the globe. But I always suspected that there were always these conversations happening. You know, that's why I would say, just because I don't know about it don't mean it don't exist. You know what I mean? But it's just refreshing to hear the conversations. It's refreshing. And I feel like I'm a conversation girl. I'm a doer. Anybody who knows me know I've always been a doer. Like, I'm getting ready to kick off this Nurturing Greatness 10 by 10. I've been doing Nurturing Greatness for a while now. I think it's on my 6th year. Last year, I was able to work with 50 girls last year. And this year, I'm going to be doing 10 by 10. So I'm going to be working with 100 girls and cohorts of 10. So that's why it's called 10 by 10. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about some of the curriculum information I had. I'm excited about the new things we're introducing. Everything down to music, everything down to things that feed your soul and your spirit, everything down to how do we mix arts in a way where there's some consciousness to it, not just any goddamn thing. I feel like sometimes with our young people, we just leave them alone. When we shouldn't leave them alone. We should be right there guiding them. And what I know about young people through history, if you set them on a course and say if they don't want to go that way, they have enough tools to create their own course. You feel what I'm saying? So, okay, somebody said, Rolanda, with the Dream Girls here for, thank you, girl. So anyway, but I just feel like, you know, I feel like we just gotta be more involved, you know, just in terms of in a place of love. I'm working on that even with myself. You know what I mean? I'm working on trying to let go of things that make me very angry. Because one of the things as a Black woman, you're constantly exuding love, but you're always on the defense. And sometimes that could make you tired. It can make you, it can really make you have high blood pressure and diabetes and a whole bunch of other things. I've increased my walking. I'm learning to let go of things and people who I feel like, ain't about that life when it comes to me. It's like they love me when they want something, but then at the same time they shitting on me and don't think I smell the shit or see them shitting on me. So it's like I'm not gonna be upset. I'm just gonna exit to the left and leave you by yourself, because one of the really, really powerful things is isolation. When you isolate people, or when you ignore people, when you don't give them any of your honey or energy, they cannot live. And so I've had to learn that. And I've had these points in my life. Good morning, dear sister. I had these points in my life where I keep getting that as a lesson. Like, girl, just take your honey and leave. You ain't got to leave nasty. Just leave, girl. Go on home and take a nap. So I have to remember that. That's that part of that power of being a Black woman that sometimes we don't always get to have as an example. We don't get to really remember that that we're gonna be all right. Like, it's okay. It's okay to say, this person hurt my feelings, and now I'm gonna have to just chill for a while, put myself on ice, or go take a break, or go sit at the water. Or what I love to play with my great nieces and nephews. I do. I like to watch them to discover and just be in their energy, because that helps me to shake off the bullshit. And then my vision gets clearer. They help me to wipe my glasses, if you will. And then I can see what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I don't get distracted with all the bullshit. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for missions, like, that I know. I sit back and I think about, even in my own family, there's a lot of things that I know that other people don't know about their own mind. And maybe because you don't know the information, or maybe you haven't taken that opportunity to sit down with people in your family and ask them about your history and who you are and where you're from, and I think that is so great. Like, that's what keeps redirecting me to my ancestors and the yet to be born. I keep knowing that I have to clear the path. Like, that's a part of my job, is to clear the path. There will be a time where I will not be able to clear the path the way I would want to. But now that I can, and I'm approaching half a century, I just was like, well, damn, bro, like, that's what it's all about. It's about when I'm talking about my mother, when I'm talking about my grandmother, those are people who cleared the way for me. See, my heroes aren't people who we may all agree on, in terms of, like, I was in a conversation in the clubhouse and they were talking about Black leaders, and I thought to myself, and somebody said it, that's how great this thing is. One dude was saying, we're always looking for people who we think are great leaders, who are standing outside of ourselves with a gazillion followers. Those are not great. Great leaders is the person who governs her home or his home. Great leaders are people who are out there doing those things, who we don't even know that they're doing it, but they're steady guiding and protecting, and they're leading the way. And I don't know about y'all, but in my family, I look at my mother's journey and I'm like, I wish I could do half the things that my mom did. Her incredible strength, I wish I could do half of that. And do it with the grace, and taking those lessons from her that I'm so grateful for. And learning from the lessons that she couldn't learn because she was busy working. So her just happened to accept things because, she had these children she had to take care of. And you know what I mean? And she grew up in certain traditions that you hold on to. Some of them I am holding on to, and some of them is like, I'm not doing that part. God bless you and send you on your way. So I don't know about y'all, but to be standing here in 2021, man, right on, Plachette, right on. And I think sometimes we got to shine the light on those people. And we knew she was great. I mean, look at what you've been able to accomplish. Somebody had to clear the way for you to be able just to be. Even if you feel like you're going through turmoil, there are energies that are clearing the way, working on your behalf. Come on now, that's why they call ancestors. They work on your behalf. They may leave in the physical, but they are still within you. One of the things that really helped me to understand that and to drive this home is that one time I was in a class and the guy was talking about the importance of, was talking about science. And what he said is that you have all of the seeds that your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your great-great-great-grandchildren will have. So I thought to myself, I said, when I really, really, really thought about it, do you know we was a seed in somebody back in the day? And now we have their seeds, and then our descendants will have our seeds? That's pretty powerful. That means everything you do gets to shape that seed. Everything you do. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I could hook you up to some people too. Because also the other part about cleaning up and repairing your DNA has a lot to do with just how you live your life. And here's the kicker with it though, because we're in the age of all of this information. We are constantly bombarded. I always tell my students, they can't do it. I said, you look it up on YouTube. Like I mess with them. Like it's like back in the day, say, did you go look it up in the library? Did you look it up in the dictionary? You know what I mean? But all of this stuff is around how you live your life. I so wish it was a fix it. I could say do 100 Hail Marys and go sit on a riverbank or something. I wish it was that simple, but it's a constant journey. And as you get older, you'll start to look back at your life and you have to ask yourself, are you satisfied with what you're leaving? You know what I mean? And you repair by how you live your life. You repair by paying homage to your ancestors. And it's not so much like the messed up stuff they did. This is the lesson I had to learn when my dad died, because I had a lot of things, a lot of feelings about how he lived his life and all that kind of stuff. A lot of it had to do with, understanding what he was working with. He also gave me a lot of gifts. And even in some of his crazy stuff, he taught me something about survival. And he also taught me something about karma. So I always pay homage and respect to my dad, because I think he did the best he could with what he had. But in repairing, because here's my thing. I feel like when children and your grandchildren and any children that you come involved with, they don't know all that other stuff. It's what you present. They could tell if you're loving. If you find yourself being mean and vicious, that has something to do with you. Because here's the other stuff. I can't blame the other people, my ancestors. They work with what they had. I got maybe some different information. So I'm taking that information with the good parts of them and moving that forward. So as I touch and talk with my nieces and nephews, and because I don't have any birth children, I have a bunch of nieces and nephews and godchildren and stuff like that. I mean, they could tell you who I really am in terms of what they've seen me do, even in those times when it's been hard, even down to when I'm doing class and class is over and I have a young girl out there getting ready to walk home. And I'm like, girl, where you living? Come on. Even though that was not my plan to go that way, I know that I have to ensure her going that way and drop her off at her door, because I know what it's like to be a young girl and being out there in the world. So that all of that is a part of what you leave. That's a part of clearing the road. I remember when my mother would be getting off of work. She worked at a convalescent hospital. It would be like midnight or whatever. And me and my siblings would walk to meet her. We'll try to get there before she gets off to walk home with her. You know what I mean? And then one of my neighbors understood that and it was like, hey, you come get me. I'll give your mom a ride home. You understand what I'm saying? But there is something about clearing the way. I never forgot those little random acts of kindness that I watched people do when I was a child. And now that's a big part of my whole life. I'm just not, I could be mad at you and still help you at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? That is clearing the way. That's clearing the way. That's shifting all of that. But you have to be conscious in the shifting. Forgiveness, not only on my behalf, but of others. As well. God, one of the things about prayer is that prayer is your communication with the Most High, whatever you call it. Some people, whatever you call God or your supreme being. And I always say it's something that has to come from your gut and from your soul. Like, it's like, you ever see somebody pray and their prayer be so powerful that it moves you in the prayer? Like they're praying, their children sometimes do that. Because sometimes they're closest to the energy that we know from which we've come. And sometimes they'll be praying for something and the prayer be so hard that you felt that and be like, oh my God. So prayer, there isn't I know people have books. I have books of prayers. People send me prayers. This prayer works for me to do this and that. I love it. But what I find is when I allow myself to be in that sacred energy, when I allow myself to connect to myself, you understand, which is really the most high, all of us connected to that, what I call in my tradition, the Great Spirit, because it just exists. It doesn't have all of these restrictions. It don't come with instructions. It's about your work. That's the work. So when you're praying, you know what I mean? You have to really think about what is it that you're praying for. Even the words, every time you speak in the tradition I'm from, it is like a prayer. That's why you don't curse people. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're talking to somebody and, I've been mad. I've said, look at this motherfucker. I just cursed this person because I was so angry. You understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, but I also say, oh my God, blessed memory. In my tradition, when you speak of an ancestor or someone who has passed, when you say their name, if I say my mother and I say her name, my mom, May Wilkins, blessed memory, immediately after. That's like blessings on this person, blessings on her life, which means it's blessings on me because I am in that bloodline. I mean, that's the work. That is the work. I'm just being so honest. I mean, I got gobs and gobs of books. I've studied traditions, and that is gobs and gobs of work. And it's not even the work that you think it is. It's not about drawing anything to memory. It's about you really being connected. You ever go somewhere and you step up to speak and what you have written down is not what you say? It's like, I'm going to say this. That's happened to me several times. That's happened to me. No right or wrong way to pray. Speak from the right on, sis. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I remember one time I was going to talk to an elder, blessed memory. I'm talking about Ms. Lillian Mobley. And I had just lost my daughter, so I went to go. She needed to put eyes on me. That's what she told me on the phone call. So I had to drive to LA so she could put eyes on me. She said, I just need to see you in the face. Older people be knowing when they need to see you in the face. So we get there, and I'm with a student. So I'm like, look, we're going to go in here and see Ms. Mobley. Blessed memory, we're going to go see her. And we're going to be in out of 15 minutes. This is me. This is my whole plan. I had the whole thing ready. I get up in there, and as soon as she looked at me, because I was like, I'm going to get in here and see her and get myself together. You know what I mean? As soon as she looked at me and said, baby, how you doing? Just like that. I bust down crying. I broke down. I was a man. And she just held me and just kind of talked my way through it. And I thought to myself, see, that's that sincerity. I could have came in there and gave her, I'm fine. I'm great. Oh, I could have came in, but when you're doing the work, you could fake the funk. I tell people, if you come in somewhere to get something and you decide to be fake, that's you writing your story of how long this shit gonna play out. But if you're sincere and you're coming for some of this healing, or whatever it is you're coming for strength, for truth, whatever it is, you'll come in and you're going to like, I don't know about y'all, as they say in the church world, you ain't going to block my blessing today. I come in here because I need something out of here. I come in here because my soul is yearning for something, and I'm going to do that work. That's very different. I don't really care about how. Yesterday I was watching Yana Van Fix My Life, and they had, man, it was two of them was really good, but one of them was really good. It was about a sister and she and her brothers and her mom and all of this kind of stuff. And when that sister left, because she was really mad at Yana Van Zant because she felt like she wasn't being heard, but she wasn't really trusting the process. That's what the truth of it was. But what I thought to myself is, sis, you got all the way to the door. You got right to the door. And because you feel like you're not respected or not being heard, you can't even come to get the healing that you say you wanted to get. Because sometimes we get caught up in perception. We get caught up in, this is how I want people to see me. We get caught up in We just get caught up in perception of somebody. There's a famous picture that says a spirit it's a bath where it looks all beautiful and flowers and roses, and like this is how you see the spiritual bath. And then the other one is like swampy, dirty, funky, and this is really what a spiritual bath look like. So sometimes we do this thing of imagery. Like when I look at us, sometimes as a people, we do a lot of imagery, and like we're okay, but really we're not. It's like there's a saying I say is that we have always been strong, but we have not always been well. So we have a perception, but the real work is being able to let that guard down and coming to get what you need to feed your soul, so that you will be okay in your prayer, or in your life, or just breathing, or your will to live. And to live abundantly, and to live in peace, and to live in love. Like these are all things we say we want, but sometimes we don't have the courage to say what is blocking you from getting to that. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes there are things blocking us because we haven't said our truths, or we worried about how people are gonna feel about what you got to say. And at some point, I just hope we don't wait till we get like 90 years old or whatever. I hope we be able to stand in that. And I don't think it's in what you say, it's how you say it. You know what I mean? I can feel when someone's telling me the truth in love, but they're telling me the truth in viciousness because you're trying to hurt me. But either way, this is a part of my story. So I have to figure out, how am I going to utilize this? What is the lesson in this for me? When my daughter died, I had to really ask myself, why did she even pick me to come through? Like, what was this all about? Because as much I could have looked at, systematic racism and working for Black people who didn't give a shit about me, or I could have looked at all of that. But when I got through those layers, then I had to look at me. Like, was I healthy? Was I living right? Was I taking care of my body? How was your health, girl? Like, I had to stand in that truth. And I couldn't even blame anybody else because this is really my journey. When I really got down to it with my daughter, she had came to give me life. She had came to make me hit the brakes because I was doing a triple dive off of a cliff, helping everybody, but not helping myself. She had to say, look at your health. I come here to get your attention. Because I done sent a lot of energy's been sent your way, but you come off like you got to help everybody, but you're not helping yourself. See, that don't fit well when you talk about stats. That don't fit well when you want to say, let's get to the real business at hand. Does white supremacy exist? Always has. That is not my issue. How I react to things. How I decide to have free will with myself. You understand what I'm saying? That's what we got to get to. And look, I don't know about y'all, but at the end of 2020, it felt like people was just checking out. Boom, right on down to the wire on New Year's Eve. I was like, what the hell? Am I the only person seeing this? So you have to ask yourself a question. If you are existing in 2021, you're existing to do what? What are you really here for? Why? Sister says, I feel like there is a right and a wrong way to pray. Maybe have your answers are important when I have something heavy. I feel lucky. Sis, I think that's what you feel. I just don't believe there's no right or wrong way to pray. That's just me. I think that is for me, not for you, because I'm totally hearing what you have to say. But for me, I think in this world we put too much emphasis on things that don't need no. I just know if you pray for something, that's like you in love with somebody and you pray that this person falls in love with you and they be yours. And then that's what you ask for, because the universe just answers. It doesn't ask you why. It doesn't ask you, or what you going to give me back. It just is. It just answers. That's all it does. It don't want to know your backdrop. It don't want to know what X, Y, and Z. But when you wish for things, and now I'm going to give you something out of what I call the elder's wisdom. My mom used to say, be careful what you ask for. So if you're like, I've seen this a lot with women. They'll be, let's give an example. Listen to women that be asking for the right mate, but they have their eye on what the mate is because they have their own idea. Then you get with this person, you realize, God, this person is horrible. But that's what you ask for. The universe didn't say, you sure you want this person? You show it, that's not his job. His job is just to answer. It's just to answer. So, you could, come up with your own disclaimer saying doing prayer is all about doing work. I so wish it was as simple as like, girl, just cast your stuff. I wish it could be that simple. I really do. But I think how you live your life will determine what you have in it. I'm very clear on that. I think in some ways I've kind of always been clear on that. Girl, let me tell you. Thank you, sis. Hey, it's been a journey. Because, I come from a line of big mamas. I'm just going to be honest with you. My mama was a big mama. Her mama was a big mama, and so forth and so on. As I know the whole history. But as I study them, because they're my playbook. For they're my holy grail. I'm just gonna be honest. Like they tell me, they give me glimpses into my future, if you will, if I dissect the book correctly. And they were great women, and I love them. I love them beyond whatever measures there are. But I think they keep giving me signs like it's okay to love, but love yourself first. It's okay to want to have X, Y, and Z, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. That they're like my angels sitting on me like, okay, that's great. Calm down. Look at us. Look at us. You know what I mean? They appear to me that way. And I feel like you ever like be living your life, you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you have like, it feels like a glitch, but actually it's the glitch to help you get to the next level where you're supposed to be. See, I'm not fighting being an elder. I'm not one of those people who is, so scared of being old. That's not me. I'm so grateful wherever I get to go. I'm just grateful. I am. Because I've known people who, are always challenging what we think youth look like, but in the inside, you are rotten. I'm not trying to compete with younger people. I just want them to extend the same courtesy that I'm extending to them. So I have to remind old and young people that. Like, I've always been working. This is not nothing new that I came up with, I don't mean to say it like that, but I'm just keeping it so honest here. I just feel like as a people and in my family tradition, I don't know about y'all. My great-great-grandmother was born in 1817. And I look at those women. She was 103 when she died. Her daughter died when she was 82. Her daughter, which is my grandmother, died when she was 52. And my mama died when she was 52. You see that lifespan shortening? How do you go from 103 to 82 to 52 to 52, and I'm 49? So I have to look at their lives and say, what am I going to do differently? When I look at my great nieces and nephews, I want to be here to see who they become. I want to leave my imprint on them, but I also would love to be here to see who they become and the choices that they make. And I'm making sure I'm putting my deposits in them early. So I'm always cheering for them. I'm always right there when their parents are, checking them. I'm like, I know I'm your favorite great auntie, but I'm gonna have a seat because this is you know what I'm saying? I'm not going, I'm there with their parents, still constantly depositing in them. See, that's that ancestral work. How you walk onto the planet, because we are our ancestors. I am my mama and her mama and her mama and my granddaddy and everybody else. I am them. I get to constantly write those next chapters of this is where we are now. I'm the person who know all my family lineage and history. And I make sure my nieces and nephews and all my family know it. So we don't have to do generic history. And I say it kind of proud like that, not in a bad way, but it means something. You know, ain't nothing like when I talk to a young person, say if they're in trouble and somehow they end up getting a phone call from me and their parents ask me to talk to them, I have to say, do you know who you are? And I have to shrug those shoulders up and put that head high and be like, let me tell you who you really are. Not who people say you are. Let me tell you who you really are. And watch their demeanor change and watch them come and get what they really need. And then say to them, hey, that's okay, but you know, you could, hey, the universe is so powerful, it would actually answer. It's been answering all this time what you've been asking for, baby. There is something about saying certain words. That's why I don't let new age people miss me with all that bullshit. Young people can tell when you're saying something, being respectful and being nurturing, than being a pervert. And I don't let people steal what helped my ancestors make it through all of this stuff in America. Hell, make it through what was happening in Africa that they even got over here as enslaved people. So family, we are so powerful. We are so powerful. And the fact that we stand here in 2021, I don't know about y'all, I remember growing up watching the Jetsons. And then watching the Jetsons every day at 4 o'clock when I got home, meet George Jetson, Jane, his wife. I remember watching them going shopping through the computer. I remember watching them do all this futuristic stuff. And now I am standing in that future. In the now. And so our job now is to make sure we are doing our part to deposit, to imprint our children, our community, our world with the things that are important to us. That's like saying if I left my nieces and nephews, I don't know, $1 million. I can't rightly tell them how they're going to spend it, but I can influence them enough to know you should buy some property, you should put some money away. I mean, I can leave those influences. Blessed memory. My Uncle Stanley just popped in my head. And my Uncle Stanley was one of those people who was born to 2 deaf and mute parents. He was the oldest of 12 children and 9 had lived. And he was the oldest. Blessed memory. And he would always tell us about the days that he's seen. He was born in 1923. And he would talk about times, and not just him as a Black person or a Black man in that time, but also being the child, the eldest child of 2 deaf and mute parents. So not only were they Black, but they were deaf and mute. And him going to work with his father, because he was his father's ears and he would translate for his father. You know, he would just tell us, he would just give me such wisdom in terms of how you walk on the planet, why your back should never be bent. This is the kind of things he would say. He would give me stories of just pride and not caring about what other people thought about you or how they seen you. I can't tell you how many times he probably was called nigga and not with no love on it. And how he still took care of his family, gave people their first jobs, you know, owned a home. I mean, all kind of stuff. Took care of everyone. I remember at his funeral, his sister got up and said, he fed me and my family, talking about her older brother. And so I think sometimes we forget those days. Right on. That's how they would say deaf and mute. That's how they would say it. And it probably is. But you know what I love about Black culture? It ain't white culture. So I say deaf and mute because that's how it was explained to me. And my grandmother and father met at the school for the deaf because the Catholics paid for my grandmother to go to school. So that's how they met. My grandmother, to give you a little bit of history, we get ready to get out of here. But my grandfather fell off a horse and lost his hearing as a boy. My grandmother was sick with the scarlet fever, went into Hahnemann Hospital and came out with no eardrums. So in my family, people didn't trust the hospital. How y'all feel about the police? That's how they felt about going to the hospital. And later in years, we find out about all the experimentations they've done on Black folks. So when people talk to me about taking some goddamn serum or for this COVID-19, I'll pass. I'm going to go ahead and get with my remedies. And if it's my time, it's my time. But I'm okay with that. And so I think about my uncle. He popped into my head because I feel like all that time he was depositing into me. He was leaving his imprint on me to remember who I am and who I come from, and how I have to charge up the universe to ask for what it is that I want, to live my life with integrity, and to always do the work. Because I'm not just doing the work for me. I'm doing the work for my ancestors, but most importantly, I'm doing the work for generations I may never ever see. So with that, family, man, that was heavy for me, but I'm grateful. I'm gonna be back on here in about 5 minutes to talk about Black femicide for December, and that's a part of doing my work. Somebody has to raise the voices. Somebody has to say something is wrong here. Somebody has to say, remember who you are. I love that scene in Black Panther when his mom says, remember who you are. Not what people say you are, not how people draw you to be, but who you are. Remember that. I live my life in gratitude because I remember that. I remember my mom braving the West. I remember my grandmother, deaf and mute, taking care of all of her children. I remember my great-grandmother right up out of slavery. She's been married like 3 times and what she built for our family. I remember my great-great-grandmother who was born in 1817 and who lived through slavery and then lived long enough to see freedom. I am from that line. I even from the line of people called the Booby people out of West Africa. I mean, I know my line, and I am so grateful for it. And with that, family, y'all have a great day, and happy, 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 happy New Year, new you, old you, do you. Peace, family.